Michelle, good afternoon.
Hi.
And I really wanted to thank you for being part of the LSMMD leadership interview series that we've been doing. I've been interviewed, Steve Powell's been interviewed, everybody's been interviewed, and now it's your turn.
Well, it's my turn. No, I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited about it, and everybody knows you very well, and that is great. And they see you running around here, but this is to give everyone else a little bit of flavor, a little different flavor about Michelle, and just to get to know Michelle a little bit better. So let's go ahead and get started. Michelle, tell us where you grew up, where you're from, and a little bit about you.
Sure.
You've got an interesting story, by the way.
I do. So a little bit about me. So I am one of 4 children. My sister and I are 11 months apart, so very close in age. We are actually the same age for about 6 weeks at any given time. So big family, extended kind of multi-family. Parents were divorced at a younger age, so I get the privilege of having a multi-layered family, which is really cool. And now, kind of extended the family life, I have a son and a daughter. My daughter's birthday is actually next month, so she will officially be 7, and my son is 9, going on 10. And my husband and I moved here about 10 years ago to Howard County, but grew up in Baltimore City and then Baltimore County.
Right.
And then started working at another retirement community at the young age of 14.
Wow. So you started working at 14.
I did.
What did you do? And I want to hear a little bit more about how you moved up in the ranks so quickly and to get where you're at, because you're starting at 14. So we want to, and I'm sure everybody else would like to hear.
Yeah, no, it's been like 23 years in senior living so far, which is crazy when I think about it. But no, so I was a server. So my friend got a job at where she told me this place. She's like, oh, I got this job, and when she's describing the name and what she, where she interviewed, I was like, oh, I think it's a bookstore. And I just wanted a job at the time, right? You're 14. And I want, some fun money. So yeah, I remember vividly. So going in, where my grandfather always told me, you have to wear a suit or skirt and dress. So even at 14, went in with the black jacket, just like I have on now, and black pants, and started right away, and liked working in hospitality and in dining.
Okay.
Spent a long time in dining. So in high school, I actually taught preschool at the high school, and then left every day, and I taught 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade throughout the year.
Wow.
Because they had an early education program in Baltimore County. I went to Lock Raven High School. So full intent to be teacher, like my
and
principal.
I can see you being a teacher.
Could you? You can see it? Yeah.
I'd hate to be a student coming to your class with not having my homework done.
No, yeah. We got to be organized, got to turn in. And so I taught, and principal came watch, and then I started at Towson University, and literally remember to this day, it was the end of my freshman year, spring semester. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I know why now, I just really enjoyed working in senior living, and I was still in dining service at the time. At the time, I was the dining room manager, so I think I was around 19 at the time, and then did office manager stuff, and one of my mentors was like, why don't you switch to healthcare? And I was like, I did. He's like, you can kind of have the best of both worlds, so I figured I could have my own kids, but I still could kind of keep in this line. So at the time, I didn't know that I was going to be a nursing administrator. I was just one step at a time, right? I was going to get that healthcare management degree. And Towson has a built-in minor of business, so it's healthcare management and business. But what I liked about their program is they had a concentration in long-term care. So it was a few extra classes, but it was something that really kind of showed me that I liked all levels within the continuum. So then I switched and never looked back, and then just kind of worked department to department.
That's a great story. What along those years from when you started working at 14 to where you're at now, what would you say has been the most challenging?
Okay. Yeah, so the most challenging for me was kind of making that switch from, so as you know, in Maryland, you do this year-long AIT.
Right.
So 2 things that kind of stand out for me. One was a construction project, the big one, added like 60 new apartments and healthcare. And I actually, before I did my AIT, got to sit in on that project and help it from the ground up. So it was challenging, but really rewarding.
Right.
The most challenging part was making that switch from being in dining and marketing all those years to like being a licensed administrator.
That's a 180.
It was a 180, but so much of it applies because people such a big aspect and service and operations. So when you have the basics, so it was definitely different, focusing solely on the healthcare piece for a while, and then I grew into overseeing the other departments while I was at the retirement community. But it was a big shift. It was definitely a big shift.
Big shift, big job.
Yes, big
and it's still a big job, and it's getting even bigger.
It is.
So,
it is.
When you're not at work, Michelle, what do you like to do? I guess of outside interests. What is fun to you? What does fun describe fun?
So you may laugh, and it may not be as fun for you, but when people ask what I do, I usually say like work, family, friends, and work out. Like literally, that's all I do. So it's kind of boring to some people, but fun for me.
Good.
Literally obsessed with my Peloton bike and the Peloton community. So I work out 7 days a week. It's kind of my outlet, right? Like my reset.
Got it.
So do a lot of running, biking, and strength training, and really try and impart that on to the kids. Trying to get the husband there, but he's UPS and he doesn't feel like he has to work out, right? So it's kind of a fun little joke in our house. But that and really cooking. Like I'll just put on some music, and I love to cook. So on Sunday is kind of my meal prep day, and I kind of prep because you never know how the week's going to go in our industry, right?
You don't.
So I kind of gear myself up, plan all the meals out for the week, and just do a lot of cooking.
Right. So when you plan your meals, this is interesting. Is it based on your likes or is it based on nutrition?
Oh, good question. A combination of both. So I get bored easily, so I like to switch up the recipes, but I'd say more nutrition focused, but variety. So I like to, I often say like I work out to eat, so I do like food, so I'll do a lot of different cooking, and so I'll make different, proteins and always huge things like roasted vegetables and stuff like that. But then I gotta put the kids in who are not gonna eat as much as we would, so then kind of prep some stuff for them too.
Very interesting approach.
Like to stay organized, Ken.
Oh, I know that. I know that and you help me stay organized too as well. I will go on camera on record to say that. So if 10 of your family members walked in Miller's Grant and they started talking to the families and the staff, how would they describe you?
Okay.
How would your family members describe Michelle?
Okay. Well, I'd hope at first they would obviously say kind and caring, but I'm a fixer. I like to fix things. Like I like to fix problems. I like to help people. I like to make sure things run smoothly. They probably would definitely say organized, probably to the point of annoyance to them. So we like structure and thing, but definitely organized, a fixer, willing to like help anybody do whatever they need to do to get it done. And I think that's really what primarily definitely.
So this is a question I think probably a lot of people can already figure out. I know I can, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What motivates you? What motivates you both at work and at home?
Okay. Yeah.
Or is it the same thing or is it two different things?
I think there's definitely a lot of overlap. I mean, when you also ask how my family would describe me, I think it also answers this question. Is I've always just been very driven, so I don't like to sit still. I have this need to just constantly do better. So kind of that perfectionist approach, but I've evolved that a little bit, right? Like progress, not perfection. You always have the ability to be better. So what motivates me is just making an impact on people's life, team members and residents. So, and it applies the same to my family too, right? Like you want people to have the best possible quality of life and experience and to be happy. So that really is what drives me, trying to keep a team together and keep people wanting to come to work every single day.
That's right.
But also want the residents to always love their decision to move here. Because I know it's a big decision, and I don't take that lightly.
It is a big decision.
Yeah.
speaking of decisions, you've got a very, very extensive background with your starting at 14, working your way up. You're here at LVMG. You're part of the LSMMD team. Why did you choose LVMG? We're very glad to have you, but tell us why the choice.
No, yeah, and you know, it's funny, a lot of people ask me that because I spent almost 20 years at my last retirement community, and when I remember interviewing here, and what really drove me here was the mission and the culture, but the friendliness of the team members as soon as I walked in the door, but also the residents. So I'm a true believer in the continuum of care. So when, you know, they were underway with their search for an executive director, I was very intrigued because also I live all of like 10 minutes away from here. So when I came
Did everybody hear that?
10 minutes,
10
right?
minutes.
10 minutes, 10 minutes. And so I was looking for something that really practiced what I was taught and what I was mentored, which was that quality of life approach and just general. So when I came here, it just felt like home, you know, felt
good.
like where I was here. And with the, you know, the LSMMD mission and the visions and values, it's just furthered my decision of like how right and spot on I was about the culture and the friendliness and just the overall community that this place has.
And those mission, vision, values, and those core values, definitely you're going to be a big piece of they're new, but along with myself and you, we're going to be responsible for getting that message out, and I know you're going to do a great job with it.
I'm excited for it.
A little bit more about business. So let's look at the next let's look at the next 3 to 6 months. Couple big goals, couple things that are sitting on your plate that you want to get done or develop or see move along.
Okay. Yeah, so we both know the last 365 plus days have been very challenging and very rewarding, right, at the same time. So my initial refocus, especially in these last few weeks, you know, we shut down group dining, as you know, November, and we just opened up about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So now with 98% of IL being vaccinated, 100% of healthcare and AL, I almost look at it as a very safe net but secure kind of bubble. So my initial focus is safely reopening some, and when I say reopen, I almost want to put them in like little air quotes because we've been open, right? We've utilized technology to continue program in small groups and safely, but let's get further along, right? So we've opened the pub, and now we're getting back to group dining. The weather's changing. We have visitors back in the building now. In healthcare and in IL. So those are my prime focus, but we've got to keep focus, like we always talk about, on how to do it safely.
Yes.
So that would be, some initial. And then as we get back into what I'll call, in a sense, our new normal is, it's budget season, that. So now it's looking at what does our year look like, fiscal year look like next year. So how are we going to end the year, census, revenue, expenses. And then how do we look next year? What do our big capital projects look like? We've spent a lot of time looking at our capital projects for next fiscal year, but also what do we look like operationally and from a staffing? So those are big, and trying to utilize some of the stuff that we found during COVID and still work it in. I mean, this technology, this streaming is the biggest thing. Now we can keep things on demand. So if a new resident moves in, they can watch our new team member orientation right away.
Right.
So trying to keep some of that, or, why can't we keep grocery delivery? I don't feel like going out. I mean, guilty as charged. I do pick up every week. This was pre-COVID. Grocery shopping is just not something I enjoy as much. I like, clicking the buttons and picking it up, but keeping some of the convenience that we've developed over this last year to make, residents have more time to do what they want to do, to get back on the tennis courts, to go play croquet.
Right.
Yeah, and then some other things just kind of been working on is, how's our team doing?
Yes.
So just honestly, the recharging and the resetting of our team members, how can we have programming and activities to kind of take that breath that we all need from this past year.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Those are all very, very good goals and initiatives. And I think everybody is happy to hear those. I want to step back a little bit and talk about COVID. COVID started really, second week in March.
Yeah.
So we're about a year out. Would you say managing through COVID has been one of the most challenging things that you've had to deal with in healthcare?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And you're a licensed nursing home administrator yourself, and the industry's tough.
It's very tough.
It's, as you know, very regulated, especially the nursing home side of it and assisted living, and it just added a whole nother layer of complexity to things, I think, but also with such a major impact on safety and well-being.
Yes.
So it was hard because you want to make decisions that are right by the organization and the residents, but you also need to make sure you're compliant. So it was just when you think you kind of got it down, right? Like it would be some new regulations or some new adjustments. So
they are changing every single day.
They are.
Probably why we're sitting here. When we go back upstairs, we're going to get something from the state of Maryland.
It is Thursday, 12:30, right? Is that call? But I will say, as challenging as it was, I think it really showed people how strong they can be from a leadership, but also,
that's right.
Forcing people out of any sort of comfort zone, because there has been no comfort zone, right? Like,
that's correct.
You needed to get comfortable being uncomfortable very quick. So, trying to focus on some of what's come out of it is, I think it's really grown me as a leader as far as like, okay, you have to just kind of go with it and, just make the best of what you can. And it wasn't easy, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to sugarcoat that at all. And it was hard. It was really, really hard.
How did you keep yourself, because Michelle worked very closely with you and others, but, during this whole COVID, I never saw you sweat. You did not sweat. And I appreciate that. But how do you keep yourself so focused? And because that's hard to do. And unfortunately, in this industry, there have been a lot of individuals who have just packed it in and said, this is too much for me. Where you stood up and stand out. How did you keep yourself so collected and anything?
Yeah, I think it's like goes back to the saying, like, it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
They say that a lot when you have kids, but I think honestly, in my case, it was a village. It was the residents here, it was the team members here, it was also my family and friend support on the outside, and then just having to find the time of like I don't think I missed a workout pretty much any single day. Yeah, because I knew that I needed to stay. I'm very task focused, so if something needs to get done, I'll get it done and then take the breath afterwards. But I think honestly, didn't want to pack up because if anything, you needed to kind of run into the building, right? Like with the fire, because someone needed to be there and step up, and our team and LSMMD and the residents did that. And the nice cards from team members or residents or family, and I share this with Resident Lab, were just so impactful for myself, but I know so many others. But the team here, the team at LSMMD, just huge support, and it's really just that village.
And I tell you, speaking of a village, so we went through a couple of different phases of COVID. We had when it first started, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? We all figured it out. We managed through the summer. We managed through parts of the holidays, and then boom, vaccine clinics came.
Yeah.
Your vaccine clinics were a huge success.
They were, yes.
And I am assuming you attribute a lot to your team.
100%, yes. Yeah, they were a huge success, and the first one, there's a lot of unknowns. And what I liked about your approach with LSMMD is bringing Carroll Lutheran Village and Miller's Grant together, because we got to learn from one another. So, we kind of came up with the base, but then we could share with CLV. And I did that with, I have a lot of friends who also work in long-term care. And, the state of Maryland really brought a lot of community together with Leading Age and Age Fam and Lifespan of what did you learn?
Right.
So I felt like we had a good base going into it, and then each clinic we just learned more and more. And then when we did the huge clinic with outside community and clergy and also just that greater community to help, involvement with the county, it just, residents were instrumental into that, LSMMD volunteers, LSMT members, and it was good. Yeah, it was a lot of people.
Yeah, it was, you could tell, and I do, this is something I really like to talk about, and this happened, I got to come to, I think, three or four of the vaccine clinics here, and at CLV. I tell you, the faces, the joy on a lot of our residents and staff faces to get that vaccine was just something else. So
it's like a huge sense of relief that you can, like you said, visibly see in somebody's eyes.
You can see it through the mask.
Yes.
I will tell you.
Yes.
You can see it through people's masks. So great job to you and your team.
Yeah.
Just a couple other things, kind of fun questions is, well, I have to kind of pare this down. My question is, what songs do you listen to on your drive into work? I was going to say, what, 3 songs, but you could only probably get to 1 song.
Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 2.
So what would those 1 or 2 songs? What's your favorite group? What would you listen to?
Oh man, so it's funny that you say that because I probably have the most random type of, so I have Apple Music, right? So it's really neat because you can customize to anything. So I think it's like what I'm in the mood for. So when I work out, it may be more kind of, pop type or even some R&B. So I always say, like, you may hear everything from like Elton John to like The Weeknd. So true, full disclosure, one of my favorite concerts of all time, Elton John and Paul McCartney. They were amazing concerts, but then I'm going to throw out Justin Timberlake. So that's what I mean. I'm very all over the place with a lot of the music. So it depends. Some days you may hear a Justin Timberlake song and then an Elton John, and then also you may hear a rock or hip hop song. So it's not a lot of time though for music. Not a lot of time. Just a quick.
Yeah.
I think one time I counted, it's about 5 turns.
Okay, and I have to ask this: have you ever walked to work?
I would say I normally would, but no, I haven't, because if you drive down Bethany Lane and 99, which is where I'm off, not the safest. Not there's no sidewalks.
Okay.
So I think I gotta make sure I get here.
Yeah.
So
stay in your car, Michelle.
Yeah. So it's and the residents will tell you when it gets warm, I will run around here actually versus my neighborhood because it's a pretty run. We all know that, and so I'll kind of run here and then even over to Gray Rock, much more sidewalks there. Than like my neighborhood has no sidewalks at all. So, not too many songs needed, which is nice. Yeah.
Last question, and I think this has been discussed quite a bit with a lot of people as we're kind of seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic. Once everything opens back up again, we're able to take our mask off. It's safe. We're vaccinated, positivity rates are way below 1. What's the first thing you're going to do?
Okay.
Or where would you go?
Where would I go? Okay. So the first place I'm going is some tropical island, all-inclusive resort, right? I don't want to cook, I don't clean, and I don't want to really do anything. I just want to sit. And I don't sit much, but I'm going to get a little beach chair. I'm just going to sit right there. And then the other thing, because I missed out on one of the concerts I was supposed to go to, my other place that I cannot wait to do is a concert. Like full on, and I know we're ways from that, I get that. But I want to go to want to hear some live music. I do, I miss live music. But yeah, I'm a big beach person. Because when I do settle down, I just kind of want to relax.
All right.
Yeah.
So very, very good. Michelle, great getting to know you a lot better, and I'm sure the residents and whoever else watches this will definitely appreciate it. So thanks for your time.
No, it was fun. Thanks for taking the time to interview me.
All right.
Thank you.